So what's going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video, and today I want to show you something really cool from the voice actor of Dr. Monty, who we know as Malcolm McDowell, where he's done a cameo for someone. The original video is from Master Chief 7390, so I assume that's who he did it for. As you can see up on screen, someone called Callan tweeted, Malcolm McDowell talked a bit about Monty in a cameo video, mentioning that neither Activision nor Treyarch approached him to reprise his role after BO3. Another evidence that Ether wasn't supposed to continue, I guess. That last part we'll talk more about later on in the video, but if you were around during the time of Black Ops 4, if you take your minds back, you might remember that, yes, we didn't hear of Dr. Monty, we didn't hear his voice during Black Ops 4 Zombies, and that was strange because he was such a big character in BO3. Black Ops 4 was the follow-up of the Ether timeline. It was a continuation of the story. Dr. Monty was in that game. We saw him. He was in both the Alpha Omega and Tag Toten intro and outro cutscenes, but we never heard his voice. Another character that was pretty similar to him, I would say, was the Shadow Man. We heard him in BO4. He had some voice lines in some Blood of the Dead radios. That was it though. Again, like Monty, he made an appearance in the Tag Toten and Alpha Omega intro and outro cutscenes, but we didn't hear from him either. But as for Dr. Monty being arguably one of the biggest characters in Zombies, it was so weird that we never heard anything from him. That whole ending of Tag Toten, us sending Dr. Monty back to the Dark Ether, it was supposed to be a big thing, but because we never heard from him, it felt very lackluster, like something was missing. And well, in this cameo video from Monty's voice actor, he also says he was surprised that Activision or Treyarch didn't ask him back for Black Ops 4 Zombies. Again, a massive credit to the original person who got this cameo, because I love when we see voice actors of video games, especially zombies, talking about their roles and what their experience was.
Hi, Kurt. How are you? This is Malcolm McDowell. Thank you for your message. It was interesting that you're so into Call of Duty Zombies, which I have to be honest and say I've never actually played it, and I hope it's good. I really enjoyed playing Monty. He was such a great character. And, you know, it was very well written, I thought. And then they let me sort of go off on my own and do some, you know, improv. So it was a lot of fun to do. I thought they would ask me back to do another one, but they never did, so I don't know. But he was a really interesting character. I mean, he was described to me as being like a godlike figure and knew everything, there was nothing he didn't know about, and a wise old soul. And you know, you do a lot of photographs. They take photographs of every inch of your head, like 250 of them or something, and they build this whole character around you. And even the costume, I thought the costume was fantastic. Anyway, yes, I can see why you enjoyed it.
So as you heard Malcolm say, even though he's never played COD Zombies himself, which I kind of expected, he really enjoyed playing that character. I guess it's something he wouldn't really be used to. Acting in video games can be different to acting in real life. And you have to remember, he wasn't just voice acting. The character in-game, Dr. Monty, is entirely based off him. It's not just his voice. Anyway, Malcolm tells us he thought that Dr. Monty was very well written. Treyarch even let him go off and do some improv. Even though Malcolm's never played the games, he says to him, his character was described as being a godlike figure, a person that knew everything. He describes Monty as being a wise old soul, which I guess is true. Monty did know everything, at least when it came to the cycle. When the cycle was broken, not so much. But the sad part about this is Malcolm says he loved doing this character, it was a lot of fun to do, but he was surprised when they never asked him back to do another one. Now this wouldn't be surprising to us if BO3 was the end of the Ether timeline, that was the end of Dr. Monty and we never saw him again, but we did. He returned in BO4, he was still present, so his character did come back. However, Treyarch or Activision, it would have been Activision I'm guessing, I presume Treyarch would have loved to have had him back if they could have, but he was never asked back to reprise his role for Dr. Monty in BO4. And like I said, that's weird because Dr. Monty is in Black Ops 4, and it is evident that Malcolm wasn't there for that because we never heard Monty's voice, he didn't speak, and we only saw him in comic form. Every other time we saw Dr. Monty in BO3, which is actually just Revelations, we got an actual cutscene, but because they didn't get Malcolm back for BO4, we only saw him in comic book form. So it's sad to know that he would have liked to have come back. He thought they would have asked him to come back. Dr. Monty's character was present in BO4, yet they never asked his actor to play him or even voice act him. The big question is, why? And the obvious one, the one that we've all been speaking about for such a long time, was the budget cuts that BO4 Zombies took. And I think that's pretty evident because if we look at the beginning of Black Ops 4 Zombies compared to how it finished, BO4 Zombies released with 4 Zombies maps on day 1, the most we ever had. 3 out of those 4 Zombies maps had proper intro and outro cutscenes. Classified had a outro cutscene and a comic book style intro cutscene, and also the promotion for BO4 Zombies at the beginning. I would argue that it's the most we've ever seen. You could even say that Zombies in Black Ops 4 was promoted more than the multiplayer was. The budget for Black Ops 4 Zombies at the beginning was obviously very expensive. They put a lot of time, effort and money into it. But then as we go through our 4 DLC maps, you will notice as we get later and later on towards the end of the game, the budget, or at least that's from what we believe, just disappears. DLC 1's budget must have been very high because Dead of the Night had one of the best intro cutscenes and one of the best looking outro cutscenes. And also, if we look at the characters in that map, we had a celebrity cast, and the characters that were played, those actors can't have been cheap. It had Charles Dance playing Godfrey, Helena Bonham Carter playing the Psychic. It's possible that these voice actors, in fact I would say certain, all of these put together would have cost Treyarch or Activision more than what it would have cost them to get Malcolm McDowell back in to play Dr. Monty. So for DLC 1 in Zombies, the budget must have been very high. DLC 2, we had Ancient Evil. Again, looking at that map, intro cutscene, the outro cutscene, just in general, again, the budget must have been very high. But then, all of a sudden, for DLC 3, Alpha Omega, we no longer had these CGI style cutscenes. Instead, we had the comic book looking ones. And also, Alpha Omega itself included, compared to Ancient Evil and Dead of the Night, which were very unique, Alpha Omega used a lot of assets that we'd seen previously. Not taking into consideration that Alpha Omega was an old Zombies map, Nuketown, although changed quite a bit. But a lot of what we saw in Alpha Omega gave off the impression that Treyarch needed to save budget and time. And then as we got our final Zombies map on BO4, Tagdo Toten, once again we got these comic book style intro cutscenes and outros. Dr. Monty and the Shadow Man were present in these, but we never heard their voices. Tagdo Toten itself was a old Zombies map being called Dead. Again, a few things were changed, but a lot of things in the map, including the wonder weapons, were reused in a way. The final 2 maps for BO4 gave off the impression that Black Ops 4 Zombies must have taken some budget cuts, which was such a massive contrast to the beginning of this game and the first 2 DLC maps, where it seemed like the production was extremely high. Treyarch had a ton of money to work with, a ton of time, whereas the final 2 maps just felt they had no budget. They were rushed. Why was this the case? Why for the big finale, the grand ending of the Ether timeline, Tagdo Toten was the final time we'd see our Ultimus and Primates characters together. This was the end, not only the end for them, but the end of Zombies as we knew it. We saw everything banished to the Dark Ether, Dr. Monty, the Shadow Man, yet that the way we saw all of this happen was just very underwhelming. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it felt like at the beginning of BO4, we were leading up to this big fight towards the end with Dr. Monty. We all thought DLC 4 was going to be us fighting Monty during the Great War, but we got none of that. We didn't get a Great War map, instead we got Tagdo Toten. We didn't get a big ending boss battle with Dr. Monty. In fact, he was never even present in the map. We didn't get great looking cutscenes. Look at the cutscene that we had in Blood of the Dead, for example, how nice it looks. I remember when we first saw the Tagdo Toten and Alpha Omega cutscenes, and we thought, well, why are they in this comic book style? It's okay, but nowhere near is this as good as the CGI style ones that we got in Blood of the Dead or 9, Dead of the Night. Yeah, it's quite a shame that BO4 Zombies had these budget cuts, and I will just say that is all just speculation. It's never been confirmed. And the question has always been, well, why? Did BO4 really flop that much? From my point of view, making YouTube videos, I did notice that interest wasn't as high towards the end of the game compared to the end of other games. Usually for BO3 or BO2, for example, when you get towards the end of a story, interest picks up, and it's usually lower for DLC 2. So maybe BO4 Zombies really did just flop that bad that Activision decided to cut Treyarch's budget, and that's why we never saw Malcolm return. Or could it be, as the person in this tweet suggests maybe it's because the Ether story wasn't supposed to continue after BO3. I know some people do say that. Personally, I've always said, well, there's actually no evidence of that. And if you look at the story, how it ended in BO3, in Revelations, the cycle continued. So if the Ether timeline was to end there, we would have all been left wondering, well, is that it? The characters are now just stuck in this never-ending loop. It wouldn't have been a good ending for characters that we'd been playing as for, well, forever. Personally, I never thought that BO3 was going to be the end of Primus and Ultimus. I thought they'd be coming back for BO4, perhaps to break the cycle, but who really knows? So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Definitely a very interesting video. I'd be interested to see what you guys think. Drop a like rating if you've enjoyed. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.